Annabelle Comes Home is yet another spin-off set in the Conjuring Universe. I think this is the 7th one. This one is directed by Gary Dauberman. This one is produced and co-written by James Wan. James Wan, of course, who has written and produced and directed other Conjuring films, and he also directed Aquaman, which came out in December. I mean, the dude's on top of the world right now. This film stars Kate McKinnon, and it stars that one chick from the Jumanji movie that came out a couple years ago that I'm having a tough time remembering her name. It also stars Ed and Lorraine Warren. That's right, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga come back briefly in this movie to reprise their roles as the Warrens from the other Conjuring films. The setup for this movie is pretty simple. The Warrens get the Annabelle doll, you know, that cursed evil-ass Annabelle doll, and they take it home and they put it in this big room, this vault that has a lot of really terrifying and creepy horror artifacts that they've collected over the years from their travels and their adventures. And they have to leave to go do something for the rest of the plot, and then they leave their daughter at home with a babysitter, and then that babysitter invites another babysitter, and so all three of them are in the house, you know, chilling, celebrating the little girl's birthday. One thing leads to another. Annabelle somehow gets loose, and then it's just, you know, a bunch of creepy evil spirits and shit haunting these three women in this house, and that's the movie. When I walked out of this movie, I actually wanted to shit all over it because I felt very bored and very dissatisfied. I'm just gonna throw that out there and get that out of the way right now. I was not excited to review this movie. And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna say some nice stuff because there are some nice things to say about this movie. For starters, the performances aren't bad. I mean, they're okay. They're not bad. They could have been better, but they could have been worse. They could have been alright. Girl from Jumanji, I don't really remember her name in this movie either. I don't remember her name, but I don't remember the actress's name, so it's kind of like double jeopardy, but she was pretty good in this movie. She's like a solid babysitter. She's the kind of chick that I would trust to watch my daughter. Now, the performances in the movie were good. The little girl probably gives the best performance, probably because she's used to all this scary shit, and so it's more believable, and she's in these scary scenes, and she's trying to act out how terrified she is. It just makes more sense for her because her parents are the Warrens. The movie does have some effectively creepy sequences, but I wouldn't say it's about the scares. It's more about the way that it's filmed and the way that it's helmed. This is definitely a director that knows what he's doing, and definitely probably helped by James Wan and his producing hand. The film actually does something pretty inventive and creative with some of the lighting in this movie. It definitely makes scenes seem creepier or scarier than they probably were intended to be because of the lighting, and I gotta give credit to the director and the cinematography people for that. There's one sequence in particular involving this multicolored light thingamabob. I don't know what it exactly was, but it just added to the scares in this one scene, and I was just kind of like, okay, you know what? That's creative. That's clever. I like that. I like the way that they use that to make the scene better. Being that this is one of the Conjuring movies, this is one of those movies where there's going to be some moments where there's no music, and they do an effective job at using no music to try to build tension. I thought that was a really good touch. In terms of building the bigger Conjuring universe, I mean, if you care about that type of shit, this movie definitely builds the universe in new ways, and you'll be excited to see some of those new universe building things. Side note, I also think it's pretty weird that for my Spider-Man Far From Home review, I wore like a collared shirt polo, but for some reason in this review, I'm wearing an Avenger shirt. My mind, man. My mind. Alright, there you go. I said something nice about the movie, now I can shit all over it for the rest of the review. Just kidding, I'm not gonna shit all over it, but good God, I was bored throughout most of this movie. One of my biggest problems with this movie is that this feels like an assembly line horror movie. It feels like one of those movies that's easy to make, very cheap to make, and then you roll it out, and then people go see it because they think they're gonna get scared, and maybe they do get scared, and then it makes more than its budget, and then we get another spin-off for another movie, and it just all feels very pointless at a certain point. This movie actually feels like an extended commercial for the rest of the Conjuring spin-offs that are gonna happen. At some point, we're gonna have to start getting creative with these names, right? I mean, Annabelle Comes Home, really? Soon we're gonna get Annabelle Reloaded, and Annabelle Returns, and Annabelle Strikes Back, and Annabelle creeped her neck sideways that one time. Rockabye Annabelle, or maybe Annabelle got dirt on her booty that one time, and that's the movie we need to make. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's gonna be the kind of titles for these spin-offs that we're gonna be getting. There are a lot of advertisements for new creepy beings and spiritual monsters and stuff that pop up in this movie, and they all feel like they were put there just so that we can lead to another Conjuring spin-off. When it comes to the scares in this movie, there's really nothing to it. I mean, it's nothing that you haven't seen before other than the effective use of lighting. I don't really think that any of the scares are genuinely scary in this movie. That's because most of the movie is built up to be a jump scare. Like, there are so many obvious jump scares that come at you, and almost every scary scene plays out the same way. Something creepy happens, somebody goes to investigate it, there's no music, then there's a loud noise and a jump scare, you get scared, and then they scream, and then nothing happens. For a majority of this movie, almost nothing happens. Like, nothing actually happens, and then by the end of the movie, I just kind of sat there and was like, what was the point of all this again? Not offensively bad or anything like that, but it's just one of those movies that I'm probably not going to care to remember unless it comes to another Conjuring spinoff, and then I'm going to have to remember this one because this one leads into that one. You know what I'm saying? Annabelle comes home, and when she comes home, she is going to be stuck in the guilty pleasure rating of this show in Smallville. Alright guys, so those are my thoughts on Annabelle Comes Home. Tell me, have you seen it? What is your favorite Conjuring Universe film? Put that in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.